Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Pod. We have an advanced lesson for you today. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine, and I'm very excited about this lesson, Marco.
It's very interesting. It's about a very controversial topic and a very popular person in history, Charles Darwin.
That's right. So he's most famous perhaps for his book, The Origin of the Species. And we're going to be talking a lot about science today. So put your thinking caps on.
All right. So without further ado, why don't we listen to this dialogue for the first time?
Man, it's been forever. What have you been up to lately?
I've been busy preparing for my exams, not to mention all the term papers I've had to write.
Same here. I'm up to my neck in work, but at least we've got summer holidays after finals. Where are you headed now?
I'm going to my anthro class. We've been focusing on Darwin all term, since it's the 200th anniversary of his birth or whatever. I'm sick and tired of Darwin, Darwin, Darwin!
What? Why? How can you not like Darwin? His work turned thousands of years of ideas about creation on their head. His theory of evolution revolutionized the fields of biology and anthropology.
I don't like him. His theory of human evolution and natural selection is full of holes. It's not as solid as you make it out to be.
Say that again and you'll make enemies with half of the academy, not to mention your professors. Furthermore, the explanation proposed by Darwin about the origin of the species and the process of natural selection constitutes a grand step towards a coherent understanding of the world and its very beginnings.
I'm not minimizing his huge contributions to science. It's just that his theory reminds me of the conundrum of the chicken and the egg.
What are you talking about?
Which came first, the chicken or the egg? This is a classic logical problem, and I think it applies to Darwin's theory. How did the very first living organism come to be?
Interesting. I think that question is better suited for my philosophy class. In the meantime, how about we settle this with a duel?
All right, interesting. They have very different views on Charles Darwin, right?
They do, and they're both pretty nerdy people. This is a very nerdy university conversation that's happening between classes.
Yeah, I think maybe they're like PhD candidates or something.
Perhaps. All right, so before we get to talking about some of the ideas in today's dialogue, let's talk about some of the words and phrases that we hear to understand better what's going on. The first part we're going to talk about in today's language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
All right, on language takeaway today, let's take a look at the first word. And, well, one of the things that many people say is that Darwin revolutionized the fields of biology.
And so he revolutionized these because he pushed them forward. He made many changes. He forced changes. So people had to change the way that they thought about these things.
If you revolutionize something, a topic or an idea, you are creating new knowledge almost, right?
Exactly. You can think of the word revolution, which is a thing. So you think of the Russian Revolution or the American Revolution. These are times of change. So to revolutionize is to bring about change.
Very good. All right, so moving forward, they were talking about human evolution. Human evolution. What is that exactly?
Good question. So you're not a monkey, I'm not a monkey, but we come from monkeys, right?
So we evolved.
Right. So the process is called human evolution. That means the process by which humans changed forms to become what we are today.
Okay, so you evolve. Now, is it evolution? You usually think of something positive, right? Something evolves into something better. Is it always that way?
No, we have another word for the negative, right? So the positive is to evolve, to become better. To get worse is to devolve.
Okay.
Yeah, to devolve, to go back and to kind of lose things that you had.
Okay, interesting. And then they were also talking about Darwin's theory of natural selection. Natural selection.
Okay, this is maybe one of the things that Darwin was most famous for, and that's why we've included it in this language takeaway, because it's a key phrase. It's something you hear people talk about a lot. Okay, so natural selection is a process, again, and it's the process by which stronger animals survive over time and weaker animals don't. So if there's a weak species, it can't really survive because it keeps dying and dying, and then finally there's no more. And so this is called natural selection because no one's actually choosing what animals will survive, but it's kind of a natural process.
Right, Mother Nature is choosing it.
Right.
Very good. So natural selection, this is one of the things that Darwin is most famous for. And, well, as Catherine mentioned, Darwin wrote the book Origin of the Species.
Right. So origin means beginning. So the origin of mankind, right? So there are many different kinds of animals. You could even say there are many different kinds of like mammals, but there are many different species within that. So human beings, black bears, koalas, chimpanzees. These are all species. And so a species is a classification. So the origin of the species is kind of a way of telling the story of how all these things came about.
All right, the origin of the species. And the last one, this word is kind of strange. He talked about the conundrum of the chicken and the egg.
Okay, conundrum. I love this word. It's very funny sounding.
Yeah, it
Conundrum.
Conundrum.
It means like a problem or a riddle or something that's hard to understand.
All right, so in this case, it's the conundrum of the chicken and the egg, right? Which came first? How else can you use conundrum?
You could say that maybe there's a situation that's very strange and hard to understand. This is quite a conundrum.
This is quite a conundrum we have.
Yes, so
It sounds very fancy, very well educated.
it does.
All right, so interesting words on language takeaway. Why don't we move on now to 4 phrases on Fluency Builder?
Fluency Builder.
All right, on Fluency Builder today we have 4 phrases, as we said. So what's the first one?
The first one is great. It's very visual. You say, I'm up to my neck in work. Or I'm up to my neck in papers to write. All right, so this means I have so much stuff to do that you could pile it up and it would come up to my neck.
So I have as many papers that are almost as tall as I am.
Exactly. And so I could say, I'm up to my neck in work. I have no more time to do anything.
Sometimes people also say I'm up to here, and then they'll
The point.
they'll point at their forehead or somewhere around their head. I'm up to here with your nonsense.
Exactly. So
Right.
this is a way of saying that I'm really busy.
I'm really busy. I'm really tired of it. All right, and our next phrase is one that most mothers use. I'm sick and tired.
Ugh, I'm sick and tired of all of your whining. Go do the dishes and don't complain.
Right. So it always goes together. You are sick and tired.
Right, and sick comes first. So I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of your bad attitude.
Okay, so and that means that you are
I'm just tired of it. I don't want you to have a bad attitude anymore. Or I'm just,
I'm really
done.
annoyed by it.
I'm annoyed.
Okay, sick and tired. And then we saw a phrase that was a little bit separated. He said, the sentence went like this. His work turned thousands of years of ideas about creation on their head. So to turn something on its head.
Like you said, Marco, it's split into 2 parts. So he turned the field of computer science on its head. So to turn on its head means to completely reverse something, to turn it around. You think 180 degrees.
Okay.
And so if biology used to be one way, then Darwin made it completely different.
So we can say that Isaac Newton completely turned physics on its head with his theory or his findings on gravity.
And then, years and years later, we had Albert Einstein, who turned those theories, or who turned that theory on its head with his own ideas about physics.
Very good. So to turn something on its head, to completely change the course of or prove something to be maybe wrong. And the last phrase that we have is the person argued that Darwin's theories were full of holes.
Okay, so to say a theory is full of holes is a little bit different than saying that his pants are full of holes, because when you say something is full of holes, maybe they actually have holes. But a theory it's an idea, so it can't have holes. What you're saying is that it's not completely sound. It's not without some problems. And so maybe you're saying that, the cookies are gone out of the kitchen, Marco, and I saw you in the kitchen, so clearly you ate the cookies.
Right, so I can say that's full of holes because it was me and it was 3 other people who were in the kitchen, so you can't blame me.
It could have been the other 2 people.
Right. So if something is full of holes, it's that it has maybe mistakes or it's still missing complete evidence to prove it right.
Or it has bad logic.
Bad logic. All right. Interesting. So we've taken a look at a lot of words and different phrases here. Let's listen to this argument one last time.
You know, Mia, the other day I was walking home and I started thinking, every step we take leaves some kind of mark on the world. But then I realized we also leave invisible marks, like our carbon footprint.
That's a really powerful way to put it, Alex. A carbon footprint is basically the total amount of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide, that we create through our daily activities. It's like leaving footprints on a beach, except these marks don't wash away.
Exactly. And sometimes people think only big factories or airplanes are the problem. But the truth is, even simple choices, like how we cook, how we travel, or even the kind of clothes we buy, add up to a massive impact.
Right. For example, driving a car alone every day releases much more carbon than taking the bus or sharing a ride with a friend. Even something small like turning off the lights when you leave a room makes a difference. The phrase I always like to teach learners is, every little bit helps.
That's such a good phrase. And I think it's important for learners to practice sentences like, I try to reduce my carbon footprint by, and then finish it with something they actually do, like recycling, walking, or eating less meat. It makes the language real and personal.
Yes, and when you use real-life examples, the English sticks in your memory. Instead of just learning the word footprint, you connect it with your lifestyle. For example, I can say, I reduced my footprint by carrying a reusable water bottle. That's simple English, clear English, and also a positive action.
And that's what makes the topic so exciting. It's not only about the environment, it's also about how we express responsibility in English. Phrases like, do my part, make a change, or take responsibility are super useful in everyday conversations.
Absolutely. And when people hear those words, they don't just hear vocabulary, they hear motivation. Because when you say, I'm doing my part to protect the planet, it makes others think, maybe I can do that too.
Exactly. And that's why conversations like this are so powerful. They're not just teaching words, they're teaching a mindset. And I think that's the first step to really making a difference.
And listeners, if you're enjoying this, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend. Leave a comment about how you reduce your carbon footprint. And let's spread the motivation.
Alex, let me ask you this. Why do you think so many people ignore the idea of a carbon footprint? I mean, the science is clear, but people still say things like, oh, it doesn't matter what I do.
That's a really great question. I think sometimes the problem feels too big, like climbing a mountain. People think, I'm just one person, my actions are too small. But the truth is, small actions multiply. Imagine millions of people turning off one light bulb. It's a massive difference.
Exactly. And that's such a teachable phrase for our learners. Small actions multiply. You can use it not only for the environment, but in many parts of life. Studying English, saving money, even exercising.
That's true. Another expression I like is, drop by drop, the bucket fills. It means even little things add up over time. And I think if learners practice these kinds of sayings, they sound more natural and also feel motivated.
Yes, and to make it practical, let's connect it to everyday life. For example, when you cook at home, instead of using plastic bags for vegetables, you can bring a reusable cloth bag. When you drink coffee, use a travel mug instead of disposable cups. These actions sound small, but they lower your footprint.
And here's another good language tip. Practice using the word instead. For example, instead of driving, I walk to school. Or instead of buying bottled water, I refill my own bottle. It's a great structure to show choices in English. And it's exactly how we talk about reducing emissions.
I love that. It's simple English, but powerful. And learners can practice it right now. Instead of watching TV all evening, I read a book. Or instead of throwing away food, I compost it. See? You improve your English and help the planet at the same time.
And the best part is when you share your habits in English, you're not just learning the language, you're also inspiring someone else. That's the beauty of combining learning with living.
And listeners, we'd love to hear your examples using instead. Leave a comment with your own sentence. Share your small actions because your words and your actions really can multiply.
Alex, have you noticed how some people use the phrase, go green, everywhere? It's almost become a lifestyle slogan, but many learners don't really understand what it means.
That's true. Go green simply means choosing habits that are kind to the environment. It can be as small as recycling paper or as big as installing solar panels. The key is being eco-friendly. That word, eco-friendly, is very useful for learners too.
Yes, eco-friendly is a great word. You can say, this bag is eco-friendly because it's made from recycled materials. Or, my office is trying to be eco-friendly by reducing paper use. It's practical vocabulary you can use in real conversations.
Exactly. And I think it's also important for learners to notice the grammar. We usually say be eco-friendly or be energy efficient. Like, this car is energy efficient, or that company is not very eco-friendly. It's a simple way to sound natural.
And, going green doesn't mean you have to make huge sacrifices. It's about smart choices. For example, carpooling, sharing a ride with a friend. It saves money, reduces emissions, and it's a perfect word to learn. Carpool.
Yes, and you can practice sentences like, I carpool to work with my neighbor, or we carpool to school every morning. That's real, everyday English learners can use right away.
And sometimes these eco-friendly habits actually improve your life, too. Imagine drinking fresh water from a reusable bottle instead of buying plastic every time. It's healthier, cheaper, and kinder to the earth.
That's the beauty of it. When you go green, you're not just protecting the planet, you're also protecting your own future. And in English, it gives you so many great words and phrases to use in conversations.
So, listeners, try this. Today, describe one eco-friendly habit you have. Use phrases like, I go green by, or I try to be eco-friendly when. Share it with us and inspire someone else with your words.
Alex, have you noticed how some people use the phrase, go green, everywhere? It's almost become a lifestyle slogan, but many learners don't really understand what it means.
That's true. Go green simply means choosing habits that are kind to the environment. It can be as small as recycling paper or as big as installing solar panels. The key is being eco-friendly. That word eco-friendly is very useful for learners too.
Yes, eco-friendly is a great word. You can say, this bag is eco-friendly because it's made from recycled materials. Or, my office is trying to be eco-friendly by reducing paper use. It's practical vocabulary you can use in real conversations.
And another expression that's connected is energy efficient. For example, I bought an energy efficient fridge, or we use energy efficient light bulbs at home. That's the kind of English you might hear at work, in shops, or even in news reports.
Exactly. And I think it's also important for learners to notice the grammar. We usually say be eco-friendly or be energy efficient. Like, this car is energy efficient, or that company is not very eco-friendly. It's a simple way to sound natural.
And going green doesn't mean you have to make huge sacrifices. It's about smart choices. For example, carpooling, sharing a ride with a friend. It saves money, reduces emissions, and it's a perfect word to learn. Carpool.
Yes, and you can practice sentences like, I carpool to work with my neighbor, or we carpool to school every morning. That's real, everyday English learners can use right away.
And sometimes these eco-friendly habits actually improve your life, too. Imagine drinking fresh water from a reusable bottle instead of buying plastic every time. It's healthier, cheaper, and kinder to the earth.
That's the beauty of it. When you go green, you're not just protecting the planet, you're also protecting your own future. And in English, it gives you so many great words and phrases to use in conversations.
So listeners, try this. Today, describe one eco-friendly habit you have. Use phrases like, I go green by, or I try to be eco-friendly when. Share it with us and inspire someone else with your words.
Oh yes, in some countries, people give very exact directions, like go 200 meters and turn left. But in others, they might say, go straight a little bit, then turn where you see the big tree.
Right. And sometimes you get funny or confusing instructions, like turn left where the old bakery used to be. If you're new to the city, you have no idea where that is.
That's so true. It's a good reminder for our listeners. If you don't understand, it's okay to ask again. You can say, sorry, could you repeat that more slowly? Or could you show me on the map?
Yes, and if you have a phone with internet, you can even hand it to them and say, could you please mark it on the map? People are usually happy to help.
That's a great tip. And for those learning English, try to listen for keywords. Words like left, right, next to, opposite, behind, and in front of are very important.
Exactly. And don't be shy to use hand gestures too. You can point left or right while repeating, so left here? That helps make sure you understand.
I also love using phrases like, is it far from here? Or how long will it take on foot? These questions help you know if you should walk or maybe take a bus or taxi.
Yes, because sometimes a place might be too far to walk, and locals will tell you, oh, you'd better take a bus, or it's about a 20-minute walk. That saves you time.
And one more phrase I really like. Could you point me in the right direction? It sounds very natural and polite.
Oh, that's a good one. And if you're already going the right way, people might just say, keep going straight, or you're almost there. That feels so encouraging when you're tired.
I agree. And I think all of this makes traveling in a new city much more fun. You get to interact with locals and learn new words.
Yes, and every time you ask and understand directions, your confidence grows. It's like a mini language victory.
And that's what we want, helping listeners feel proud of using English in real situations. Sophia, I think another thing that makes asking for directions fun is the chance to learn how locals actually speak. Textbooks often give very formal examples, but real people sometimes use shorter, casual phrases.
You're right, James. For example, instead of saying, go straight, many people just say, keep going, or even, just go down this way.
Exactly. And sometimes they don't even say, turn left. They might say, hang a left, which is a very casual way to say, turn left.
Oh, yes, or take a right. These are great phrases for our listeners to know because they will hear them a lot in real life.
And another common thing is when someone says, it's just around the corner. That means it's very close, almost at the next turn.
That's a nice phrase. And if something is really near, people might just say, it's right there, or it's just ahead.
And here's a tip for listeners. Pay attention to their tone. If someone says, oh, it's just 5 minutes away, that usually means it's close. But if they pause and say, well, it's kind of far, maybe you should take a bus.
True. And you can always ask, is it within walking distance? That's a very natural question to know if you should walk or use transport.
And speaking of transport, sometimes locals will say things like, hop on bus number 5, or catch the red line. That means you should take that bus or subway train.
Yes, and learning the words for public transportation is so helpful. Bus stop, subway station, train platform, ticket counter. These are all must-know words for travelers.
And if you're lost in a big train station, you can ask, which platform does the train to London leave from? That's a lifesaver.
I love how practical this conversation is. We're not just teaching vocabulary, we're teaching real-life survival English.
Exactly, Sophia. And the best part is, once you know these phrases, you can travel almost anywhere with confidence.
That's so true. And every time you use English in a real situation, you feel more proud and motivated to keep learning.
James, do you know what really helps me when I'm lost? I look for someone who seems approachable, like a shopkeeper, a bus driver, or even a student. They usually know the area very well. That's a smart strategy, Sophia. Shopkeepers especially are great because they stay in one place all day, so they know exactly what's around. You can start by saying, excuse me, do you know where the nearest pharmacy is?
Yes, and speaking of that, let's give our listeners some more polite ways to start their question. They can say, hi, could you help me? Or, excuse me, I'm a bit lost. Could you tell me how to get to? These sound friendly and make people want to help.
That's a good point. Tone of voice matters too. If you sound rude or too fast, people might not respond as warmly. Slow down and smile. It makes a huge difference.
And after someone helps you, it's very nice to say, thank you so much, or I really appreciate it. These phrases show gratitude and make the conversation pleasant.
Absolutely. And here's a fun idea. If you're traveling in a country where English isn't the first language, you can even learn how to say thank you in their language. It always makes people smile.
That's a great tip, James. And for our listeners who are learning English, using these polite phrases will help you sound more natural and confident.
And let's not forget about safety. If it's late at night or you feel uncomfortable, choose someone who looks trustworthy, maybe a family, a store clerk, or a security guard.
Good advice, James. And sometimes, if you really can't find your way, you can step into a cafe, buy a drink, and ask the staff. They're usually very helpful.
Yes, and some places even have free maps you can take with you. That can make finding your way much easier.
So really, getting lost can turn into a nice adventure if you stay calm, polite, and open to asking for help.
Exactly. And the more you practice these phrases, the faster they will come to you when you need them. Sophia, have you ever noticed how asking for directions can actually teach you new words about the city itself?
Oh, yes, James. For example, one time I asked a man for directions, and he said, "Go past the roundabout, then take the second exit." I had never heard the word roundabout before, but I learned that it means a circular intersection where cars go around in a circle.
Sophia, have you ever noticed how asking for directions can actually teach you new words about the city itself?
Oh, yes, James. For example, one time I asked a man for directions and he said, "Go past the roundabout, then take the second exit." I had never heard the word roundabout before, but I learned that it means a circular intersection where cars go around in a circle.
That's such a good example. And you can also hear words like intersection or crosswalk. An intersection is where two roads meet, and a crosswalk is where pedestrians can safely cross the street.
Right, and sometimes people will use words like block. For example, walk 2 blocks and turn left. A block usually means the distance between two streets.
Yes, and if you're in the UK, you might hear zebra crossing. That's their word for crosswalk, because the black and white stripes look like a zebra.
I love that! And learning these little cultural words makes traveling so much more interesting.
Another fun one is alley. That means a very narrow street between buildings. If someone says, "Take the alley on your right," it means walk through that small path.
And don't forget avenue and boulevard. Those usually mean big, wide streets. If someone says, "Go down Fifth Avenue," it means follow that street until you reach your destination.
Good point. And listeners, notice that when you ask for directions, you're not only learning where to go, you're learning vocabulary about your environment.
Exactly. It's like a live English lesson happening in the real world. You learn faster because you really need the words at that moment.
And after you arrive, you can even write those new words down in a notebook. That's a great way to remember them for the future.
Yes, and every time you look at those notes, you'll remember the experience too, which helps the words stick in your memory.
That's how language learning becomes a part of your life, not just something you do in a classroom.
James, I think one of the best ways to practice asking for directions is to make it a little game.
Oh, that sounds fun. What kind of game do you mean, Sophia?
Well, when I travel, I sometimes ask for directions to a place, even when I already know how to get there. It's just practice. I'll ask, "Excuse me, how can I get to the train station?" And then I see if the directions match what I already know.
That's such a clever idea. It takes away the pressure because you already know the answer, so you can focus on listening carefully and understanding every word.
Exactly. And if you travel with friends, you can even practice together. One person pretends to be lost, and the other gives directions. It's a great way to review phrases like turn left, go straight, and across from.
I love that idea. And you can even do it in your own city. Pick a place, maybe a park or a cafe, and try to explain to your friend how to get there. It's an excellent speaking exercise.
Yes, and when you do this, try to use clear language and full sentences. Instead of just saying left or right, say turn left at the traffic light. This helps you practice real-life communication.
That's a good tip for pronunciation, too. When you repeat these sentences out loud, your mouth gets used to the sounds, and your English becomes smoother.
And for listeners who are shy, remember, you don't have to be perfect. Even if your grammar isn't 100% correct, people will still understand you if you speak slowly and clearly.
Yes, communication is more important than perfection. The goal is to be understood, not to give a grammar test.
And every time you succeed, you feel more confident. That confidence will make you want to talk to more people, and soon, speaking English will feel natural.
And that's the key, Sophia. Practice, practice, practice. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Sophia, I think what we're really saying today is that getting lost isn't such a bad thing after all.
You're right, James. Sometimes getting lost is actually an adventure. You discover new streets, hidden cafes, and beautiful places you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Exactly. And you get to meet new people when you ask for help. Each time you talk to someone, you're practicing real, natural English.
And that's the best way to improve. Real conversations help you learn faster than just memorizing words from a book.
Yes, and asking for directions teaches you so many useful phrases. Go straight, turn right, across from, next to. These words are used everywhere, every day.
And let's not forget how good it feels when you finally reach your destination. It's a little moment of success, and that success motivates you to keep learning.
So, listeners, we want you to try this. Next time you're out, ask someone for directions, even if you're not lost, just to practice.
And when you do, tell us about your experience. Share it in the comments, tell us which new words you used and what you learned.
And if you found today's conversation helpful, make sure to like this episode and subscribe so you never miss a chance to improve your English.
Yes, your support helps us keep bringing you these useful lessons, and we'd love to hear how you're using English in real life.
So, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep exploring, because every step, even the wrong turns, bring you closer to fluency.
And who knows? The next time you get lost, it might just be the best part of your journey.
Man, it's been forever. What have you been up to lately?
I've been busy preparing for my exams, not to mention all the term papers I've had to write.
Same here. I'm up to my neck in work, but at least we've got summer holidays after finals. Where are you headed now?
I'm going to my anthro class. We've been focusing on Darwin all term, since it's the 200th anniversary of his birth or whatever. I'm sick and tired of Darwin, Darwin, Darwin!
What? Why? How can you not like Darwin? His work turned thousands of years of ideas about creation on their head. His theory of evolution revolutionized the fields of biology and anthropology.
I don't like him. His theory of human evolution and natural selection is full of holes. It's not as solid as you make it out to be.
Say that again and you'll make enemies with half of the academy, not to mention your professors. Furthermore, the explanation proposed by Darwin about the origin of the species and the process of natural selection constitutes a grand step towards a coherent understanding of the world and its very beginnings.
I'm not minimizing his huge contributions to science. It's just that his theory reminds me of the conundrum of the chicken and the egg.
What are you talking about?
Which came first, the chicken or the egg? This is a classic logical problem, and I think it applies to Darwin's theory. How did the very first living organism come to be?
Interesting. I think that question is better suited for my philosophy class. In the meantime, how about we settle this with a duel?
Welcome to Podcast Fluent English. Today, I want to take you on a fascinating journey. A journey that begins millions of years ago and still continues inside every one of us. This is not only a story about science, but also a story about courage, curiosity, and the endless desire to understand who we are and where we came from. Long ago, people had many different explanations about life. Some believed the world appeared suddenly in a magical way. Others thought humans had always existed exactly as we are now. But then came a man with very different ideas. His name was Charles Darwin. Darwin looked at the world with curious eyes. He loved nature. He studied plants, birds, and animals with great patience. And he asked questions that many people were afraid to ask. He noticed something very simple but also very powerful. Life changes. Plants change. Animals change. Even the smallest creatures are not the same as they were before. And slowly, step by step, those changes can create something entirely new. Darwin called this process evolution. The word evolution means a gradual change over time, usually in a positive or progressive way. You can even use this word in daily life. For example, my English has evolved a lot since I started listening to podcasts. Or mobile phones have evolved so quickly in just 10 years. But Darwin also gave us another idea, a phrase we still use today, natural selection. This means that in nature, the strongest and most adaptable creatures survive, while the weaker ones slowly disappear. It's not about muscles or size, but about how well a creature can fit into its environment. Think of it this way. If you are learning English, the ones who keep practicing, adapting, and improving are the ones who survive in the world of communication. It's almost like natural selection in language learning. Darwin's ideas were shocking for his time. They turned old beliefs upside down, or as we say in English, they turned them on their head. People were surprised, some were even angry, but one thing was clear. He changed the way we think about life forever. And here's something motivational for you. Darwin was not a genius from birth. He was often shy, often uncertain, and sometimes even doubted himself. But he kept observing, kept writing, and kept believing that asking questions was the right path. That is the true spirit of learning. Never stop asking, never stop growing. Imagine standing on a small island in the middle of the ocean. The sun is shining, the waves are gentle, and birds fly above you with colorful wings. This is what Charles Darwin experienced when he traveled to the Galapagos Islands, a place full of strange and beautiful creatures. That trip changed his life and changed the world. On those islands, Darwin noticed something very interesting. The birds looked similar, but not exactly the same. Some had big beaks, some had small beaks. Some had sharp beaks made for cracking seeds, and others had long, thin beaks for catching insects. He realized that the birds had adapted to survive in their environment. This was the living proof of his idea of natural selection. The birds that had the right tools to survive on their island lived longer and had more babies. Slowly, over many generations, their bodies changed. This simple observation gave us a big lesson. Small changes matter. In English, we often say, little by little, a little becomes a lot. Just like those birds, your English can grow with small daily practice. Maybe today you learn one new word. Tomorrow you try one new expression, and after a few months, your language skills look completely different. That is evolution in action, your own personal language evolution. Darwin also taught us a phrase we can apply to life. Adapt or disappear. It sounds dramatic, but it's true. When times change, when situations become difficult, the people who adapt are the ones who continue. This is true in business, in relationships, and of course, in learning English. If your old method doesn't work, don't give up. Adapt, try a new way, and keep moving. Many people at the time laughed at Darwin's ideas. They thought, how can humans come from animals? That's impossible. But Darwin was brave enough to write his book, On the Origin of Species. This book was not just about animals, it was about us, about every living thing. It was about connection, the idea that all life is part of one big family. And here is the motivational part. Darwin's journey shows us that discovery comes to those who are curious. Curiosity is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it grows. So ask questions every day. Why is this word used like that? What does this phrase really mean? How can I say this in another way? That curiosity will keep your English alive, just like Darwin's curiosity kept his ideas alive. Picture a world millions of years ago. No cars, no buildings, no human voices, only forests, oceans, and animals struggling to survive. Some creatures were huge, like dinosaurs, and others were small, like tiny insects. Life was wild, dangerous, and full of change. This is the world that Darwin wanted to understand. He asked a very deep question. How did all these different forms of life appear? Why are there so many species, lions, elephants, butterflies, and humans? The answer, he believed, was not magic, but process. Life had been shaping itself step by step through slow but powerful changes. This is what he called the long story of evolution. Darwin used a simple but powerful example, the giraffe. A long time ago, not all giraffes had long necks. Some had shorter ones. But those giraffes could not reach the high leaves on the trees. The ones with slightly longer necks survived better, ate more, and lived longer. They had more babies, and over many generations, giraffes became the tall animals we know today. This is natural selection in action. We can take this lesson into daily life. Think of learning English. If you have a small advantage, like practicing just 15 minutes every day, you will survive better in conversations than someone who never practices. Over time, your advantage grows. You don't have to be perfect today, just a little better than yesterday. That is the secret of progress. In English, there's a phrase, Rome wasn't built in a day. This means that great things take time. Just as animals evolved slowly, your language skills will also grow step by step. Don't expect to master English overnight. Enjoy the process, celebrate the small wins, and trust that your effort is building something strong. Darwin's ideas were not only about science, they were about life itself. He showed us that strength is not just about power, but about adaptability. He proved that those who can adjust, those who can learn, those who can keep moving forward are the ones who truly succeed.
Let's take a moment to imagine something powerful. Every living thing on Earth, every tree, every bird, every fish, every person is connected. This was one of Darwin's most beautiful ideas. He showed that life is like a giant tree. At the roots, we all share a common beginning. As the branches grow, they separate into different species, dogs, cats, whales, humans, but all of them are connected to the same tree of life. This image helps us understand our place in the world. We are not separate from nature, we are part of it. The air we breathe comes from plants, the food we eat comes from the earth, and even the smallest insect has its role in this great system. Darwin's theory was not just science, it was a reminder of humility. It told us, you are not above nature, you are inside it. In English, we often use the phrase, we're all in the same boat. It means we share the same situation, the same challenges, or the same future. In life, just like on Darwin's tree, we are all in the same boat. Your actions affect others, and their actions affect you. This is why cooperation, kindness, and respect matter so much. Darwin also helped us think about change as something natural, not something to fear. When a bird changes its feathers, or when a species learns to live in a new environment, it is simply adapting. In our daily lives, change can be scary. Moving to a new city, starting a new job, or speaking English with strangers. But change is also growth. A good phrase to remember here is, change is the only constant. This means that nothing stays the same forever, and the sooner we accept this, the easier life becomes. Darwin faced much criticism for his ideas. Some people called him wrong, others called him dangerous, but he stayed calm and focused on the evidence. This teaches us another life lesson. If you believe in your work and your values, stay strong, even when others doubt you. In English, there's an expression, stand your ground. It means to stay firm, to defend your ideas, and not to give up when you know something is true. And here's the motivational part. Your English journey is also like growing on the tree of life. Every new word is a branch, every phrase is a leaf, and slowly your tree becomes stronger and more beautiful. Don't compare your tree to someone else's. Just keep watering it with practice and watch it grow. Think about the phrase, survival of the fittest. Many people believe Darwin invented this phrase, but actually it was another scientist, Herbert Spencer, who used it after reading Darwin's work. Still, the phrase became famous because it perfectly describes the power of natural selection. But here's something important. Fittest does not always mean the strongest or the biggest. It means the most suitable, the most adaptable. The creature that can adjust to the world around it has the best chance to survive. Let's take an example from animals. Polar bears. They have thick, white fur, strong paws, and layers of fat to keep them warm in the icy Arctic. These features make them perfectly adapted to their environment. But if the environment changes too quickly, like when the ice melts because of climate change, the same polar bears struggle to survive. This shows us that success depends not only on strength, but also on the ability to change when the world changes. This lesson is so useful for us as English learners. You may not know every grammar rule, you may not have a perfect accent, but if you can adapt in conversations, using gestures, finding another word, or staying calm when you forget something, you will survive and succeed. That is the real meaning of fitness in communication. In English, there's a phrase, go with the flow. It means to adapt, to stay flexible, not to fight against small changes. When you are learning, sometimes you won't understand every single word. That's okay. Go with the flow. Keep listening, and meaning will come. Darwin's work reminds us that life is not about being perfect. It's about being prepared to change. The animals that refused to change disappeared, but the ones who tried new ways, new strategies, survived. In the same way, if one method of study doesn't work for you, don't give up. Try another one. Try reading aloud. Try listening to music. Try practicing with a friend. Adapt your style until you find what helps you grow. Here's the motivational part. Survival of the fittest is really about survival of the learner. The person who keeps learning, who keeps adjusting, who keeps moving forward is the one who thrives. And you are that person because by listening now, you are proving that you are willing to grow. Now let's step into one of the biggest questions that Darwin's theory raised. Where did the very first life come from? Imagine the Earth billions of years ago. Volcanoes exploding, oceans boiling, lightning striking the sky. It was a dangerous place. Yet somewhere in that chaos, life began. Was it a simple cell in the ocean? Was it a chemical reaction? We still don't fully know, and that mystery makes the story of life even more fascinating. Darwin himself admitted that his theory didn't answer everything. He explained how life changes once it exists, but the beginning, the very first spark, remained a mystery. People called this the chicken and egg problem. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's a conundrum, a puzzle with no easy answer. And in English, we use this expression when two things depend on each other and we don't know which one started first. For example, which comes first, confidence or success? It's a chicken and egg problem. This teaches us a powerful lesson. Not knowing is okay. Curiosity is not about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions. Darwin dared to ask questions that others ignored. That courage led him to discoveries that changed the world. As learners of English, you can also use questions as your strongest tool. Don't be afraid to ask, why do we say it this way? Or what does this phrase really mean? Questions are the key to deeper understanding. Here's another useful expression. Food for thought. It means an idea that makes you think deeply. Darwin's theory gave the world a lot of food for thought. And when you learn English, every new word, every new story can also be food for thought. Something to chew on, to reflect, and to grow from. The mystery of life's beginning is still unsolved, but maybe that's what makes it magical. We don't need all the answers to be inspired. Sometimes it's the search itself that gives life meaning. The same is true in learning English. You may never reach a point where you say, I know it all, but the journey of discovery will keep you motivated and alive inside. And here is the motivation. Don't wait for perfect conditions to start. Life began in chaos, and yet it found a way. Your English can also grow, even if the beginning feels messy and unclear. Just keep moving, keep asking, and your journey will unfold.
One of the most surprising parts of Darwin's story is how much resistance he faced. When he published On the Origin of Species in 1859, many people were shocked, even angry. His ideas seemed to challenge long-held beliefs about creation and the special place of humans in the world. Some people said his theory was full of holes, meaning it was not complete, not perfect, or missing pieces of proof. But Darwin's strength was not in having all the answers. It was in his patience. He collected evidence for years, fossils, notes, samples of plants and animals. He knew that one or two examples were not enough, but hundreds of examples together made his case stronger. And this is a lesson for us in learning. Progress is built piece by piece, step by step. One word today, one phrase tomorrow. Slowly, the evidence of your growth becomes undeniable. There's an English phrase that fits Darwin's situation well. Rome wasn't built in a day. It means that great achievements take time. Darwin's theory was not accepted immediately, but over time, with more evidence, it became one of the most important ideas in science. Your English journey is the same. Do not expect instant results, but trust the process. Another phrase that fits here is turn something on its head. Darwin's ideas turned science on its head, completely changing the way people saw life and nature. In your own way, learning English can also turn your world on its head. Suddenly, you can travel more easily, connect with people from other countries, and access knowledge that was once closed to you. It's a transformation that opens new doors. Darwin also teaches us about courage. Imagine being laughed at, criticized, and even insulted for your ideas, yet still standing strong. That is what it means to stand your ground. As a learner, when people doubt you, when they say, your accent is strange or your English is not good enough, remember Darwin. Stand your ground. Keep practicing. Prove with time that your effort is stronger than their doubt. And here's the motivational spark. Every idea, every dream, every goal will face resistance. But just like Darwin, you can turn that resistance into fuel. Keep building your evidence, your words, your conversations, your confidence. In time, your success will speak louder than any criticism. Darwin's theory did more than explain animals and plants. It also touched the human heart. For centuries, people believed humans were completely separate from other creatures. But Darwin suggested that we are part of the same family, connected by the same long journey of evolution. This idea was revolutionary because it taught us humility. It reminded us that we are not rulers of nature, but Darwin's story finally gives us one unforgettable lesson: growth never ends. Evolution is not a finished book. It is an ongoing story written every single day. Creatures continue to adapt, the world continues to change, and so do we. The same is true with learning English. You don't reach a point where you say, "Now I know everything." Instead, you keep evolving, keep discovering, and keep building new strengths. There is a wonderful phrase in English, a work in progress. It means something that is not finished yet, but is developing step by step. Every learner, every speaker, every human being is a work in progress. Darwin himself was a work in progress, always learning, always questioning, always growing. You too are on that path. Here's another expression: the bigger picture. Darwin taught us to look at the bigger picture of life, not just the small details. The bigger picture of learning English is not just grammar exercises or word lists. It is communication, connection, and confidence. When you see the bigger picture, small mistakes don't scare you anymore. They're just part of the journey. And perhaps the most motivating part of Darwin's life is this: he was not a superhero. He was an ordinary man who chose to be curious, patient, and brave. His courage to think differently and to keep learning changed the world. That means you too can create change, whether in your own life or in the lives of others, through learning, through persistence, through never giving up. So let Darwin's story inspire you. Be curious like him. Be patient like him. And be brave like him. Keep evolving, keep adapting, and keep moving toward the best version of yourself. Thank you for being part of WorldPod English Video. If this journey touched you, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Your support is the energy that keeps this story alive and helps us continue growing together.
All right, we're back. So interesting, this Darwin's theories and his explanations for the origin of species and life as we know it. But there is the opposite to this, right? There is a certain thing called creationism.
There is, and this is a big source of controversy, especially in the United States, because in some places, people want to teach creationism as well as evolution in schools. And so this is the big question. Are they still equal as theories, or is one theory more proven than the other?
Right. And it is kind of hard to determine which one is better, because one is based on faith. The other one is based more on scientific evidence, right? So they're not really even on the same scale. As we learned before, that's kind of like apples and oranges, right?
It is, and there are some people who would say that we have lots of ways of quote unquote proving what happened in the past, but as long as we weren't there, we never really do know.
Right.
And there's always changes in science, so how can we be sure that what we know now isn't false, isn't misunderstandings?
Right. I think for now, this is the best explanation, but that doesn't mean that it's the correct one. Maybe in 100 years from now, we'll have another explanation that's much better, or maybe complementary to this one. Well, we want to know what you guys think. Come to our website, englishpod.com. We really want to hear your opinions. What do you think about this topic? It is a little bit controversial, so we really look forward to your comments and any other questions you may have.
Yep, and just a reference, creationism is the idea that God created the world, or a superior being created the world, and that everything came from that. And so let us know what you think. I am very curious too. And that's about it for today.
All right.
So,
we'll see you guys there.
Bye-bye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, Then say the vocabulary word. Bored or annoyed.
Sick and tired.
In a state of disagreement.
At odds with.
Logical and consistent.
Coherent.
To make something as small as possible.
Minimize.
Including many faults.
Full of holes.
A school that provides training in special subjects.
Academy.
A process by which the best creatures survive.
Natural selection.
A confusing or difficult problem.
Conundrum.
Let's try that faster. To make something as small as possible.
Minimize.
Bored or annoyed.
Sick and tired.
Logical and consistent.
Coherent.
A process by which the best creatures survive.
Natural selection.
In a state of disagreement.
At odds with.
A confusing or difficult problem.
Conundrum.
Including many faults.
Full of holes.
A school that provides training in special subjects.
Academy.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of eating beans for every meal. Sick and tired. After 30 years of marriage, she became sick and tired of waiting on him hand and foot. Sick and tired. We are sick and tired of corruption. We demand change now. At odds with. The professor's opinions were often at odds with his students' views. At odds with. The president was often at odds with Congress. At odds with. Instead of being continually at odds with each other, the competitors agreed to cooperate. Coherent. She could speak at length about films in a coherent and eloquent manner. Coherent. The dazed man could not deliver a coherent response to his rescuers. Coherent. This report is confusing and entirely incoherent. Write it again. Minimize. I don't want to minimize your contributions to this company, but you must admit that idea was not yours. Minimize. Minimize your impact on the environment and try to recycle. Minimize. During the interview, she minimized her weaknesses and emphasized her strengths. Full of holes. Your paper is well written, but your thesis is full of holes. Full of holes. We need to buy a new bucket. This one is full of holes. Full of holes. The jury decided the man was guilty because his case was full of holes.